Good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you very much, Mercy, for that update there. Right now, we've been joined now in the studio by Mr. Duke Alamboye. He's a PDP member. He's also a statesman and the director for the Green Assembly Initiative. Did I get that correct? Is it director?
I'm the national coordinator.
National coordinator. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having us.
Welcome back. I know you just came back from Rivers State.
Yeah, that's true.
All right. So how was it there? What was the experience like? We had you on Monday. You were still in Rivers State at the time, but now that you're back, what was the experience like there going back?
Well,
the second time this election cycle, I believe.
Yeah. I think the presidential election, there are quite improved services from INEC and the security agencies and other agents that have participated in the two elections. I think there's a quite different from that of the presidential election and the governorship election. Rivers State precisely recorded at least 80% of free and fair election, if I may, in my own opinion, and you can see the variations in winnings. Like I told you last time, that the state elections, basically the House of State House of Representatives and the governorship elections in the country is going to turn out fantastic. You will see where the so-called big political parties will lose most of their seats to the upcoming political parties, and that is because basically we are into the session where everybody, the awareness is quite high, and then people are voting for credible candidates, no more voting for political parties. So I think largely in the country that has been experienced, and you see in the tussles here and there in the polity, and some people are winning, some people are losing, some people are giving victory, some people are angry, getting prepared to go to court. So this is basically what we are having, what is happening in the country now, and it's a welcome development so far as we are all striving to ensure that we push forward our democratic setting for the betterment of our nation.
All right. I think I can sense that you are a bit more pleased with this election than the past. But generally, do you think, there was really improvement in terms that even though you might see it a bit differently, there's still a lot of people wailing and screaming that it's not fair, people are being rigged out left and right. Some people have even accused the PDP of also being part of those doing the rigging. What do you make of all of this, really? Well,
like I said the other time too, we cannot completely rule out these infringements when it comes to our electoral process. We are not yet there that will say we are going to have a perfect electoral process, and I don't think there's none recorded in the world to say that this is a very perfect situation. But our country is moving closer. Yes, there are differences because what was even the larger call for the presidential election to say was the voting pattern. The voting was better than the governorship and state assembly elections. The voting pattern, I mean.
In the presidential.
In the presidential. Okay. People went and franchised, voted for candidates of their will. We recorded just few discrepancies in few states in the presidential election. You saw it was more calmer, it was more organized. Yes, materials arrived some states at late hours or so, but you saw people well determined to ensure that they were patient to voting, and the security didn't do much work because people were orderly. In terms of voting, where we had issues in the presidential election was the empires, where INEC upturned the will of the people, which is in the court. So that is going to be proven within few days ahead of us. So that is the different. But in the governorship election, because the state issues, we saw where some state governors, present governors, made use of the the INEC officials and the security agencies. We saw some governors that could not even have that because the people mandate stood firm. We saw some governors we saw some states lost out, some states that the governors are incumbents but not coming back, lost out to even what they call even the third class political parties. So and then results were transmitted. This time around, results were transmitted. People kept watch over the unit results, and so far we've not recorded much agitations. Only that it is in some quarters or some states, it is reported that there were violence and still smashing of ballot boxes and the rest of it. Well, if all these things would have happened, wouldn't have happened if certain things are put in place. But I think it's an improvement from the presidential election we saw, where the basic thing is the confidence of uploading your votes from the unit to ensuring that we can rely on that which is uploaded, even if it is altered by individuals within the state or within any constituency, as to say. So this is what didn't happen. That happened during the presidential election. It was not done, and basically that's why the larger Nigerians are saying that the will and the mandate of the people was stolen in the presidential election. But you come to the governorship elections, there was an improvement because the entail of the election was perfectly done. These things were uploaded, and then people became more comfortable. Just small sketches of ballot buses running, violence here and there. But at the go, I don't think there's any state that recorded very huge level of violence or electoral malpractice that will warrant a rerun or whatever. States where it is perceived that there were still lots of this. INEC also went on to say inconclusive, as in the case of Adamawa State. So these are the improvements we recorded that makes it different from the presidential election. All right.
So before we go perhaps into more broader issues, are there any specifics for Rivers State politics that you felt came to play in this election cycle? Did it happen just as expected, or were there any upsets? Well, what's Rivers State politics really like?
I believe so. I without mincing words, I think the most prepared candidate or party in the Rivers State election was the PDP. Why am I saying that? If you look at the campaign strategy, if you look at the campaign period, they were very serious about the campaign. They were very serious about mobilization. They were very concerned. The governor took it upon himself to ensure that he had gone round all 23 LGAs for the campaigns. That is number one. That is reaching out to the grassroots, selling the candidates the PDP is bringing forth to rule 2023 and ahead. So that is one. They got a very spaced and very intensive and well organized campaign around the state. That is number one. Number two, they were very strategic in all the 32 LGAs for state assemblies. They were also local campaigns. They didn't stop there. After that, they did senatorial campaigns. So you see a party that has positioned itself. You'd like to know that they are even majority in the state. PDP, what's called Rivers State, is most like a PDP state, where we see one would have expected a very strong opposition from the APC to run alongside the strength of the PDP. You can also bear with me that that's the party in government, and so finance was not an issue for them. So they were very intact when it comes to financial build to run the elections, as regards mobilization, as regards keeping its members intact. Before now, the governor of Rivers State used so many strategies which they laughed at. You can remember where he promised to have almost 200,000 essays, and I told people that is a way of keeping his numbers together. He knows that it's going to be tough at a time, but
isn't that a manner of vote buying?
But it's not vote buying. It's keeping members of the party together. See, politics is about numbers, and the governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike, understood that votes will begin to count. It was no more business as usual. So if in the state is having, for instance, 40,000 voters, it's a strategy to holding on to membership. I don't see it as vote buying. They are PDP members, and they are said they want to. If he had the opportunity, everybody could be his essay. That is a way of committing them to stay put in their party and believe in the new concept that he's bringing. This is one very strategic pointer he used. And at the time again, he started coming up with some areas that he has been abused, that he has not touched. He started touching into it, like the Trans-Calabari Road of the Calabari people, which is where I come from. He went ahead to say, okay, well, it has always been a political statement that we're going to do Trans-Calabari Road. Today, I'm going to do it. It went further. There's a federal road running between Emoa Aziz to the Calabari region. He's expanding the road. These are the ways he touched to the soul of the people and ensuring them that, look, he was even going to complete this project before he leaves. So, by and large, we saw a political party that is more prepared in all ramifications. We want to look at it. The APC, they tried this time around. The candidature of Toyin Cole, he tried. I like the way he pulled the party, he pulled the campaign alongside some hindrances. I know one or two LGs where he went to where there were obstructions, but resistance from the people, and that is because perhaps the governor touched their lives, so they wouldn't want to have any other person come to campaign in their local government, which is not also fine. But this is the level of resistance the APC governorship candidate had. But he still went on to do what he did. The only problem I foresaw was, he was running an election. We from River State, it was largely believed that power should shift to the riverine. At this moment, that even the governor, the PDP, has chosen a riverine governor, his people were contesting alongside with him, sharing the Calabari vote, sharing Rivers votes, instead of putting hands together. I was shocked when they went to the office of the CP, River State CP, to lodge a complaint of the high-handedness of the governor. If they could bring themselves together to pursue that, they could not bring themselves together to ensure that they collate their huge votes to defeating the PDP candidate. So this is where they got it wrong. The opposition parties in River State got it wrong. They were just on their own, even knowing that they do not have much financial strength, much membership strength, much coverage. Even their parties were not even having much coverage in the state. So they didn't come together, discuss this well, and say, okay, if they want to really pull out power from the PDP, this is what we ought to do. We have to come together. And then could remember, that is how the APC came about, getting power in the federal government and even some states in the country. So this is what was expected. But however, I give it to the man. He was very apt in this game. He knows his onions. He got into the political space, the 2023 political space, got the readings that it was not business as usual, changed the dynamics, changed the system, and you could see what happened, what came out of the result. He overwhelmingly won almost all the LGs, and that is because of hard work.
All right, if you can help me confirm something, you've already hinted at it. The governor-elect now, yes, is he an Ikwere man?
No. The governor is from Opobo State. The governor-elect of River State now.
Is it? But somehow it's classified as the same region which the current governor is from.
What we I don't know. That is peddling, and I don't know. Yeah,
that's what I want to.
Yes, people should come up with facts. When it's normal. When it's normal in the political circle. If today I choose you to be my successor, people begin to dig into why and how. They are coming up with one thing or the other. Oh, is his brother? Or no, he was his media assistant, because I used to appear in Kaftan when you work in Kaftan. But they won't remember that, oh, I'm picking you perhaps because of the experience I've had while working with you in whatever position or time. The experiences I've had, I know that you could be a best media aide when I become governor. So I've chosen you. Myopic minded people will leave that and then jump into concluding unnecessarily. Same phobia, the governor-elect is from Opobo. I've not traced any of his lineage to Ikwere. But I know that it's hypocrisy. Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Is that true? No, yes. No, they try to make the point that on the national scene, Governor Wike says he needs shift power rotation, but in his own home, it's not power rotation. Or was it in reference to perhaps the handover from former Governor Rotimi Amaechi to?
Yeah, I think that refers. Yeah, I think that statement is factual to Governor the then Governor Rotimi taking over from him, which they are from the same upland, and most worrisome, they were from the same local government, ethnic group, ethnic nationality. So that is where it was. But from Wike transiting to Sin Fobia, I think it's a clear indication of what the aspiration of Rivers people, because we have aspired that power has remained too long upland, so it should shift to the riverine. And when we said shift to the riverine, I think it also heard the voice of the people, took a candidate this time around from the riverine.
All right. So now back to the issue of the national. There are comments already rolling in that people are wondering what is going to happen in the PDP. Now, take for instance, the Southeast used to be predominantly the PDP zone, and apparently the PDP just narrowly held on to Enugu State. Yeah. Otherwise, it was almost being shared across other parties. So people are saying that shouldn't there be payments or consequences for some persons who worked against the party? For instance, the Rivers State governor has categorically said it, that he gave the instruction that vote South. He did not. He said that according to him, he didn't say vote Tinubu or vote Obi, or he did give the instruction that, you know, vote South. And he didn't speak for just himself. He said we agreed, the unity group, that is the G5, to do that. So people are saying if they worked against the party, shouldn't there be consequences? How do you think the PDP can resolve this and become
working against a political party is anti-party. But I also emphasize that take a good wash.
I'm sorry to cut you short, Mr. Duke. Just to tell our viewers, our phone lines are open now, so you can call in and ask your questions or make your contributions. Please go ahead.
Yeah, just to give a clear statement. In my own view, I told you some other time I was on this studio that the 2023 election is going to be people-oriented. It's not going to be party-oriented. In as much as the G5 gave their instruction for people in their states, electorate in their states, to vote whoever or whatever they are leaning on, you and I will agree that it wasn't the case at all. People went out there and do what they wanted to do. So it is not a case of Wike saying they should vote A or B. It is about what the people wanted, and that is what they gave to Nigerians. There are so many irregularities in the presidential election, which is left in the hands of the judiciary, where a common man will have his hope to look into. So I wouldn't want to say much about that, but we are all not happy about the outcome of the presidential election as it is. Every day people keep complaining about that process. It was seriously mad. So when it comes to the presidential election, expressing the party unity, the assurance of the party unity after the presidential election, I would say that it is time for the party to put their heads together and see that this time around, or time from henceforth, they make sure that they are having good, also free, fair and credible primaries. If that is the case, because I have also faulted the PDP primaries, but in various opinions, I think there is need for them to reorganize themselves, rearrange themselves to a unified level where they can take power from the APC. So that was the difference between the APC and the PDP at the time. The APC was not fighting, we also having internal issues, but managed it, pull out people that are not important to them, managed to get to where they are, while the APC the PDP too also did the same thing, but as the result had come out, they are not in government. So I think by and large they would be able to put up themselves together again as a party to see ways forward to ensure that they get their grounds and unify themselves. It has really affected them in the just concluded elections. You can see the numbers of states they are having now and all of that. So I think it's time to trash back the issues and then see how they can forge ahead as a political party.
All right, that's fair enough. What about the type of opposition we should be expecting? We get comments sometimes that the PDP is not forceful enough with opposition, but then others say that some reply from some PDP members is that people are used to some sort of dirty politics, and so they expect that the PDP will also engage in such, and they have no interest to do that. But now that we're saying that, it seems as though there's another, will I say, vibrant opposition now coming together. Even the Labour Party, the NNPP, they're out there now. Are there any chances that there could be, some sort of coalition of voices? Because I was speaking to a political analyst the other day, and he made an analysis that somehow when parties split, or when people split from parties, they are more at war with themselves than with the party that they are supposed to fight. So you find that people who left the PDP and are now popular or have their own following, their followers have more issues with PDP than they do with the APC. And so it's almost like there's always a divide. So is there any hope in the future that these oppositions can come together so that the ruling party doesn't just get its way all the time?
It's ideology. It's ideology based and it's opinion based. So, you understand? So, for you to leave your political party and join another political party or form another political, as in the case of the emergence of the NNPP and the Labour Party, so it automatically changed their ideology. It means that they don't believe in the concept of the PDP. At the time they have formed their own political parties, had more their own followership strength and all of that. So it takes time, or it takes a deliberate effort for them to still see how they can come back, or still allow those their structure, their new forces, to stay back, still establish themselves as a political party. Why the PDP or the opposition party try to see how they can strengthen themselves? But if I may advise on that angle of issues, I will advise that it is time for them to pick up their themselves and see how they can bring back those persons that left the party, so that they can have a strong opposition to see how they can, move on into the next election. But if in the course of doing that, maybe a particular party feels that they are getting more popularity, because I can tell you that NNPP has also won a state to themselves. I think that's a Kano. Labour Party has won a bit 2 or 3 states. One state actually. That's officially one state, Abia State. So are we saying that there is this tendency all of them ran election without having governors sponsor themselves? Are you saying that at this time that they've gone to that stage, they want to really bring back their strength and their force to the PDP, to say they want to join force to fight? These are the many questions. You have to weigh those factors to see if there could be a comeback. If this comeback are not coming forth, they are still members in the PDP. How internally, like you rightly said, they are still having little rancors. So how can they drop all these issues and then strengthen themselves and see how they can be an opposition to the ruling party that has won the election again? However, we are still aware that the matter is in court. Some governors and some senators, some big wig politicians have come up to say that even Tinubu himself shouldn't celebrate, because there is more to it. The cases in court are too hard enough to be cracked. So these are many issues that are going to face before we can even talk about a strong opposition. But in my advice, it is time to readjust, reunite, and ensure that any of the political parties that come up the day to rule, we have a strong opposition. Because with strong opposition, the party in power will be able to know that what they are doing is well or is not well for the nation.
All right, that's really fair enough. We really do expect to have more of that. Robust, back and forth usually leads to better democracy. But that being said, going forward, what about relationship with the ruling party? I believe former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has already replied to the president-elect's call to come together, saying, using some words for it that basically mean that he's not impressed or is not moved by such words, especially as he feels that he's been robbed. So that moving forward, is it a case of it's us versus you, or is there an opportunity for opposition to work with with the ruling party? There is no opportunity. Is the president-elect, is it not good? Is it good to say that is not aware that the people are contesting the election? That is claimed that is claiming him as president-elect, is aware that the matter is in court. So calling on a unity government or calling on people to shred their sword to join him is already a failed call. This is an election, presidential election, that came to an end where no meaningful Nigerian is happy. Look at the mood of the nation. When the president emerges, the president has emerged, not the one we have now. However, I really don't want to talk much about the presidential election because it's in court. The only prayers I'm beginning to have is that the judiciary should be able to give the common man his or her hope, because this is where we are believing that if anything wrong has happened in this election, it should be corrected. They should forget about technicalities and ensure that, look, what was the intention of Nigerians in this election. If they look into the critical issues as sued by the political parties, they will know that it is time to get our country intact
other than coming up with technicalities and what have you to give victory to the if having gone through the processes thoroughly and they find out that yes, indeed, Asiwaju won the election, then to God be the glory. People will celebrate him, but not at the time when people are still aggrieved and the matters are going to court. Issues are being shown out every day. If you have had the opportunity to go through the suits by the Labour Party, you will be baffled. I think 24 points prayers. So this is massive, and they are all having very critical and thick issues. The court is going to have a great challenges, and these are not just mere lawyers going to the tribunal this time around. They are all senior advocates going to meet their mates at the bar in court. So it's going to be very interesting and engaging. And all we are saying is that please, we want the judiciary to take its firm stand, do the right thing, so that everybody at the end of the day can be happy that yes, indeed they've done a thorough job, and this is what this is the outcome of the job, and everybody will put their hands together and say, okay, well, as our nation, either we are doing a rerun of the elections, or we are declaring one person as the winner, or Asiwaju continues as president-elect, having gone through the door. But the process should be credible, should be judicious. And Nigerians are not expecting to hear technicalities of the matters and all of that. If you go technical, you are shortchanging the wills and the aspiration, the mandate of the people as claimed in those suits. So we should those issues should be critically looked at and let the right thing be done to justify what the people want. All right.
Speaking about the process, to the electoral part of it now, we saw the behavior or the conduct of some returning officers, and it kind of puts into question what we saw on February 25th compared to now. For the issue of Abia State, we know that there was a local government that was in contention, and we saw how there were moves to try and correct it as much as possible. And then even in this cycle, we taking differences into account, Ogun State had a difference of about 15K, with cancelled votes being way more. It was the victory was given to the governor. We have Adamawa State, where the PDP governor there, Mr. Fintiri, also won the election with a slim margin, but the cancelled votes were, more, and it was declared inconclusive. And now we've seen in Enugu State, the cancelled election votes were about more than the difference between the PDP and the Labour Party. So all these things being said, is it looking like these elections are up to the people, in charge of them, the particular returning officers, are not really about the guidelines or so to speak?
Well, I want to agree with you from one perspective and disagree with you from the other. Let me take where I agree with you. I think the more we stay put to ensure that we want the system to be sanitized and get things right, there are also this class of politicians that study the process, see how they can effectively manipulate and manage the system for their interest. So what I think is, I also saw the result, and it marvels me how almost 15,000 voters in a particular state will not vote properly. So when they say invalid votes or cancelled votes, it means that they've not voted properly, they've not printed properly. So it beats my imagination. So are we saying that's the high level of conspiracy? Are we saying that actually people went out up to 15,000 in a particular state not voting properly? What was the tension at which these persons are voted? So it calls for alarm, but I want to agree with you that perhaps it's a new way they've found to manipulate the system. The other way around again, I also want to believe that instead of putting up rancors in the system, and these votes that are very, very obviously not well, these voters that didn't vote well, to come into rancor, it's best that they just cancel those votes, other than cancelling the totality of a particular unit or an LG. This is where the problem lies, because I was opportune to be in my unit after voting this time around, and we also quarreled. But the returning officer in my was very, very keen and very, very committed to the fact that we put what we call intention of the voter. When we see a vote that is supposed to be cancelled, perhaps because it is very close to the line, or perhaps because the way it was folded, we checked the intention of the voter. The voter was actually voting for PDP or APC. Was he actually voting for a party? We saw some voters ballots that had people voting twice. So those are very evident votes for cancellation. So, but it depends on the returning officers and the agents at a particular unit or ward or LGA to ascertain that, look, these votes, yes, this perhaps might be touching the line slightly, but what do we do? Can we consider the intention of the voter? Definitely the intention of the voter was to vote for the political party, but maybe the ink has spread to the line. So these are concession they look. Maybe in those states that they have lots of cancellation, to avoid these problems of putting blows on INEC, INEC would have been so strict to say, no, the law says that once it is touching the line of any of the party line, it becomes invalid, and then they invalidate such vote. Perhaps that's also what I think would have given rise to the high level of cancellation, so that there will be peace in that unit, that, well, everyone that was perceived not correct was invalidated. So no of the political agents will come and say they at one point it didn't touch the line. You know, those excuses. I'm sure these are, that's I said, two ways. So I'm sure these are one other thing they also would have caused the high level of vote cancellation. So it's two ways if you want to look at it. One way, I feel maybe the political parties there has slid it down so that they can have victory for the preferred political party. That is if they are connivance. The other way, I've also thought of it that, okay, well, so many issues in the state, so many issues in the world, so many issues in the LGA. INEC was strict to say, no, the law says it shouldn't touch the line. The law states where we have two thumbprints, it should be invalid. And they've kept to that particular law, and that cancelled anything that came up as such. So that's my take on that.
But the issue now is the disparity. You know, the point of Electoral Act and guidelines is meant to be that whoever you might be, wherever you might be, whether you're in the south, north, east, or west, yes, the guidelines will tell you how to move. But the issue now is, in one state, you have inconclusive results for the same reason or the same thing that is playing out in another state, and it is being declared in that other state. So that's why I asked the question, is it an issue where we need to be more concerned about the persons, or do we have to, you know, perhaps rewrite the guidelines? Because if it was, it seems straightforward enough that every returning officer should have followed the same principle. Once you see that the council votes are more than the difference between the winner and the loser, you declare it inconclusive, maybe for a rerun somewhere along the
we're not talking about, I'm not, what I refer to, I was not talking about the totality of the votes. Of course, if there are high level of distraction or what you call violence or disruption per se, and INEC had decided to cancel the whole of such unit or such ward, and then two candidates have emerged, one leading, and the level of the number at which the person is leading is still not far more than what is cancelled, they are definitely going to be a run, because the tendency of the person beneath or the second runner up winning the whole of that what do you call that cancelled vote is there. So there is no need to announce the winner. But at the time, or at the point where we observe that, for instance, I was leading with 200, and then the votes of the LG or whatever unit that is cancelled is 100. Of course, even if the second runner up had won all the vote from that area cancelled, wouldn't have still beat me up, then there would have been a rerun. So these are the two scenarios. So in some states where you see such things still happened and they declared a candidate, is because the number of votes cancelled is below the winning figure, the number at which is below the leading figure. But if the leading figure is below the cancelled number, they have to do a rerun such that they will keep the election inconclusive while they do that rerun to ensure that the share vote or whatever the outcome is. So I think it's a very smart one from INEC not to have declared anybody in Adamawa State until those by-elections are held again. Else, it will cause trouble, because if you declare as Fintri is leading, if you declare him, what if she wins the whole of the possibility of she winning the policy? They don't anticipate. It's fact. So allow those elections to run. Let her possibly win all the votes there, and then we'll ensure that she. One question people will ignorantly be asking is that, will everybody from that unit that had done accreditation come out to vote? That is not INEC's decision. What INEC is having that 30 persons are done accreditation, and if they would allow the election, she might come back to claim that those 30 persons would have voted for her. So at that point, you've put the whole election in the state to ridicule. So I think in the case of Adamawa State, the INEC took a good decision, and until that result, that by-election is held, I think they should keep the election inconclusive.
Right, I think that's fair enough, but people will want them to do the same for other states. But that being said, now looking forward, what are your predictions and your expectations into the future? I think the next election after this is about November. I think that's Imo State. So there will be expectations that lessons have been learned and so on and so forth. I remember on the 25th, after the 25th, there were some recommendations and some issues you brought up, which seems to have been addressed. Right now. So what more should we be seeing, at least come November again, assuming all the elections have done and everything is calm till that time?
Well, a more dedicated INEC is what we want to see. Like I want to say that the governorship and state assembly election, they tried early arrival of materials. Standing firm to say this is the right thing to do. They all have guidelines. They all know the guidelines. So standing properly to ensure that what they know about the law is what they execute on field. Not having too much compromise with the electorates, or what they call politicians. So this is the basic thing. Keeping their house in order. What I mean by keeping their house in order? Like ensuring that the beavers function properly, ensuring that the transmission also function properly, because these are the two deciding factors, two confidence elements that the electorate have in coming out to vote. I told you that there won't be voter apathy, because people will really come up to ensure that they vote to show the world that the presidential election was not their aspiration. So this is what I think INEC is going to do in the next election coming in November, to make sure. Of course, it's a separate election, so all attention will be in Enugu, and then you will see how effective they are. There should be more commitment. There should be more national oriented INEC that wants to see the will of the people, the mandate of the people prevail. Not an INEC that wants to see favor party A to extend their appointments or whatever personal interest those staff are having in INEC. Want to see INEC stand so very independent. President Muhammad Buhari had given them lots of independency, and they shouldn't compromise those powers that have been given to them. Rather, they should use it to enhance that which the man is looking at, leaving a legacy in the political process.
All right, thank you so much for coming, Mr. Duke Anamboye. Hopefully, the next time we meet again, not the next time we meet again, anyway, the next time we speak about post-election reactions, you would have even better experience, like you did from presidency to governorship. Thanks so much for coming.
It's a pleasure of having me. Thank you very much too.
All right, so that's all we'll take on this segment of the program. We'll go on a short break and bring you some updates, and when we return, the program continues. Stay with us. We'll be right back.